All right. Hello, guys. Tonight I have two guests, which has been fun for me because I don't have to talk nearly as much, but I like to talk a lot, so we'll see how it goes, right? But I have John Revel, who you all know, so say hi, John.
Hello, everyone.
And I have BENZ here too. Say hi, BENZ.
Hello, how are you guys doing?
So if you're out there and there's usually a little bit of delay, but if anyone can tell us if our sound is way off or pretty close to about the same, just give us a 5-5 or whatever and let us know. Real quickly, hey, Ani James, real quickly, I'm going to do a raffle because it filled and people want to know. People who buy spots keep saying, when are you going to do the raffle? And I'm like, yeah, I know, right? So I'm going to do it right now. Hey, Jim, thank you for the 5-5, Ani James. And Jim Damon says hi, or Damon, or I don't know. You guys, I probably told you.
It's not Jim Jones, is it?
Yeah, that's his AKA.
Oh, no, we can't have Jim Jones.
No, there's a rapper named Jim Jones, of course.
Yeah.
What the hell? Course. Like, why?
They had a funny show on VH1.
I'm so glad that Oh, what's that, BENZ?
I don't listen to rap.
I don't listen to it, but I saw something on mainstream news about it or whatever, and I don't listen to it, but it's just more of that, like, they know what's going on. It's a black guy being called Jim Jones. Come on now. All right, well, give me a drum roll, John.
I think that's his real name, though.
It is not his real name. None of them use their real name. Okay, here we go. Number 9. That's Joe. Joseph Atencio.
That's a Beatles song. Number nine.
It's a Beatles song. Hey, Patricia and Brenda and
That's
Susan.
on the White Album.
I'm not a big Beatles person, but cool.
What?
I mean, they exist. I mean, who knows? Paul McCartney might have been dead since the 60s, right?
Oh yeah, he's dead. Paul was. I like John Lennon. You like John Lennon, Ben?
I liked him. He was pretty good. I mean, it's been a while since I listened to his stuff.
Yeah, Paul's fake Paul. Paul's Fugazi now.
When you listen to his songs, there's something interesting about some of the songs sound like broadcast of the New World Order before it actually came.
Yeah, actually, they say that Helter Skelter was the cause of Charles Manson going ape stuff. And number 9, quite frankly, has backmasking in it. It's backwards. So I don't know. They say that's satanic.
Well, there's that song. You may say that I'm a dreamer.
Imagine, yeah.
But I'm not the only one. That song, like, you listen to it, it's like basically, if the serpent seed didn't exist, yeah, it would be all fun and games and everything would be happy, but they exist, so no, it's not.
I'm just grateful that we got to hear Ben singing to us tonight already. This is wonderful. So, okay, but just so you know, the title, I don't know if you guys, either of you looked, because I said you should go see the title of I said somewhere, you should see what I titled this. Okay, well, I titled it, A Mormon and a Catholic and a Christian Walk into the Bar, because that's what we got tonight, guys. And we're going to talk about this stuff. And the reason we're going to talk about it is because we get really hung up on all the bad stuff that these churches are doing at the top, or not just churches, other things, new age, government, you name it, whatever. There's somebody at the top of most things doing something wrong. Maybe everything, right? You could say in some way. Satan's got his hands in everything. But we forget, guys, as Christians, a lot of us, and if you're not Christian, that's fine, because we got two. I'm separating Catholic and Christian just for a reason, so don't stress about it. But
what did you title it, Aaron? What did you call it?
A Mormon, a Catholic, and a Christian walk into a bar.
Well, who's buying drinks?
Probably not the Mormon. The Mormon walked into the bar and stepped back out.
I said, I'm the DD.
Yeah, he's the driver. He'll just watch us make fools of ourselves, because Catholics are usually Irish and they can drink a lot. So what I'm saying is I'm not separating and saying Catholics aren't Christian, guys. And I'm also, because Mormons are constantly told they're not Christians, right? And you're going to hear Mr. BENZ say that he believes in Jesus Christ. So what I'm saying is we forget to meet people where they are. And as Christians or as believers or whatever walk, really what we should be doing is bringing the light to people in a way of love and humbling ourselves. I am guilty of being that jerk that's like, no, actually, and I push my glasses up and I want to tell people what's what. And really, I need to meet them where they are and not just say, oh, you're a Freemason, you're a bad guy. Oh, you're a Mormon, you're a bad guy. There are people that are really good people and they want help or need help, or maybe they don't want our help and we just got to love them. But let's talk about what the people are like and get some information from the Mormon himself. This is BENZ. And you got to tell me how you say your name on YouTube because I have no idea.
All right, so I pronounce it Ben Schwagel.
Oh, I was so close.
Just the.
That sounds like Hornswoggle.
I should say it good. What's that?
Vince McMahon's illegitimate son in professional wrestling's name is Hornswoggle. I know it's no relation, but it just sounds similar. He's a midget.
Oh yeah. I'm not a midget, no relation.
Okay.
No, okay.
Okay. But now just give us a quick, or however slow, quick, whatever, we've got time. Give us a walkthrough of that, the fact that you weren't raised up Mormon, but you joined, but tell us how that all happened. Like what year, what happened, why'd you go there? What's the story there?
All right, so I was born originally Catholic, like long ago. I'm in my 40s, so I was born Catholic. My stepdad married my stepmom. Yeah, that's a long story too. And my stepmom was Lutheran. So my stepdad converted us all to Lutheran. So we all became Lutherans, and I was Lutheran for a good while. Went to, what's that thing? I forget what it's called. Starts with a C.
Catechism?
Not the Catholic version. It's where you're allowed to take the communion.
Confirmation.
Yeah, confirmation. So I apologize. I forget words sometimes. So I have that fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue syndrome or whatever. So, but anyways.
First communion.
No, so he said confirmation.
Yeah, it is confirmation, and you get to take the first communion. That's a big thing in the Lutheran faith. So I went through that. And, I still always had a lot of questions about stuff. And my stepmom she was fairly abusive. So after I left home, I just kind of pushed it all away and kind of threw it all to the side. And like everything, all the stuff that I did at home, it just all went to the wayside. Everything I learned, everything that I did, I just kind of became a different person, or just really whatever person I was without her there. Just kind of let myself go. And which is usually a case of people who go through that type of life.
Right.
Just kind of get rid of it and go a different way. So when I was in my 20s, I had moved to Arizona. I was living in Flagstaff for a couple of years.
It snows there, doesn't it? You get snow there too.
It does. Actually, I've seen those pictures where someone says, "So you live in Arizona?" and it shows a desert, and the bottom part says, "No, I live in Arizona," and it shows like a snowed out
ski slope.
Plus, it's like 7,500 feet, and so a lot of runners, like elite runners, train up there.
Yeah, we'd see a lot of them. Swim teams would go up through to train. But yeah, so I was living there for a good while. 13 years before I joined the Army, I was in Flagstaff. And
thank you for your service.
Yeah, good for you, man.
Thank you. I try. I think I've been in 8 years now, and I think I've had my run, I've had my fun. I think it's time to get out. So I'm gonna get out here pretty soon. But while I was there in Flagstaff, you're in Arizona, so Utah is straight north of you. The Mormons went straight north and straight south. So there's a bunch of them in Idaho, and there's a bunch of them in Arizona. And so, of course, as my conversion story is, or my introduction to the Mormons went, sitting outside with a bunch of roommates from the place I was at. and we're watching Jehovah's Witnesses walk across the street, going up, knocking on doors, bringing their whole family with, and we're kind of laughing at it. Just I didn't really know much about it, but I thought it was kind of funny. And my roommates are poking fun and laughing, calling out things, which I just kind of kept quiet and just like, this is kind of odd. And then one of them drives into the parking lot, says, "The Mormons are coming. The Mormon missionaries are coming." And so they all ran inside, scared.
Like the British are coming?
Yes.
Like the British are coming?
Like they're gonna just take you out.
Yeah. I was like, what the heck? What are Mormons? I didn't know what they were.
Didn't even know what they were. That's interesting.
No, I didn't even know what they were. And so my roommates were like, "Just get in here." I was like, okay. So I get inside, and they're all running into their rooms. They're like, "Don't open the door. Don't move the curtains. Don't even move doors because the curtains will move and they'll know someone's here."
That's funny. That's funny.
And goofy.
Yeah. Like, are you serious? And like, I was knocking on one of the guy's doors. He says, "Don't open the door. It'll move the curtains. They'll know someone's here." I was like, oh my goodness, okay. So I'm like, what are the Mormons? What's so bad about it? They're knocking on the door. I'm like, you know what? I'll be the man and send them away. So I go to the door, open it up. "No, sorry, we're not interested." "Well, can we at least get your phone number?" "Okay."
Wow. Yeah, here's my phone number.
Yeah, so I gave him my phone number to get rid of him. So that's where it's headed.
Hey.
We all have those stories where we're young and stupid and don't know what we're doing. So that was.
I wonder what led you to the door.
They were knocking on the door. I said, "You know what? I'll just send them away from my roommates."
Right. While everybody else is hype.
Yeah. I was like, you know what? I'll be a man. I'll send them away. And so now we're Mormon.
All right.
That's how they get you. So they called me, had some meetings, and what the interesting thing was is as a Lutheran, as a Catholic and a Lutheran, having been both, I had questions. I always had questions about how things worked, what was going on. So they called me up 3 times, and what's interesting is actually when I had actually before they had showed up, I had actually prayed about 3 days before they showed up. I remember this quite well. 3 days before they showed up, I things were kind of going bad. I was having some difficulty with stuff, and I prayed to ask God to help me out with what was going on. I had a pretty deep prayer. Like, when you have that prayer where tears are coming from your eyes because you feel something and you feel something deep within you. So I had one of those prayers, and 3 days later, that's when the missionaries actually showed up, and that whole event happened. And so then they called me, and I was like, "Nah, I'm not interested." Called me again, "Nah, I'm not interested." Well, at this time, things weren't going so great at my job. So the 3rd time they called me, I said, "You know what? What will it hurt? I'll listen to what they have to say." So I said, "Sure, go ahead, come on over, and we'll have a talk, and we'll see what you guys have to say." Well, they answered a whole bunch of questions that I'd always been asking, like everything that just the gaps, where there were gaps, they had answers for. Like everything that I was questioning about as a Lutheran or as a Catholic, all these things that I had questions about, they had answers for. And so that's why I ended up, they asked me if I wanted to be baptized into the church, and I said, yes, this is awesome. This was what I was looking for. And so I ended up joining.
Can I ask you a question real quick?
Yeah.
When you get baptized in the LDS, is it similar to Catholics, how you renounce Satan and all his works and etc.?
There's a prayer that
No, he's there.
You do full immersion, So it's a full immersion of your sins, of your body to clean you of sin. So even if the hair on your head is above the water, they need to do it again. And so they say a prayer, and it's like you make a covenant that you will. It's been so long. It's been like almost 20 years since I've done it. So,
Right.
but
No, I get it.
and you make a covenant. They talk to you about it beforehand. You go through this talk with a missionary where they go through all the different things that these are the things you need to agree upon when you're joining. Like you will not you'll try to you will stop doing like these things like it's like recommendations. Some of them are recommendations, some of them are you have to stop doing these things in order to join.
Is original sin a big part of it, being cleansed of original sin, or no?
That's something different. That's a see we have big talks about deep underlying talks and discussions about what original sin is, and I can
Gotcha.
go over that. I can go over that, but there is no cleansing of original sin because in order to come here, the original sin had to happen, and we
Right.
come in as a fallen state, and so therefore you are fallen. There's no really uh, there. Well, there's the whole original sin thing was it put the entire human race into a fallen state because that's what had to happen in order for us to actually be able to come here in the first place.
Yeah. So if you're
In
not
order for us to
familiar,
be
John, LDS and Mormons, in Benz will talk about this here, but just explain it to people so that they. Now, I want everybody to know, like, Benz never did stop asking questions, guys, and we'll get to that. He's now asking some really good questions about the Garden of Eden. In fact, he's asking questions nobody else is asking, and I'm covered it a little bit, and I'm going to have a guy on Tuesday who's really going to cover it. He's going to record with me, and I'll probably just put it up that night. But just hear us out why we're talking about this. But anyway, to explain to us about the LDS Church and the Mormons, what they believe we are as humans, and what happens if we, I don't know, work hard enough or do well or whatever happens. What happens with us after death? Now, start wherever you want there, but you know where I'm leading you, I think, when it comes to God and other planets. So
yeah. So we have this idea that let's see. So there's we have this thing called the plan of happiness, as we call it. It explains our travel from there's a premortal existence where we all existed in spirit form before we came here. Then there's us coming to Earth. Then we die, and when we die, we're still here. But those who were faithful, those who repented, who followed God, followed Jesus, um, those of us who actually were faithful, we go to the spiritual paradise. And those who were not, those who didn't follow God, those who fell away, followed Satan, did other things, just didn't know, didn't hear about Jesus. All those types of people, they go to the spiritual prison. Now, the thing about it is that this God, we believe in God being a merciful God, and that the chance doesn't end here. So our belief is that when we die, so let's say you've got all those people who never even knew anything about the idea of Jesus or God at all. They were born into a family line that was separated from all knowledge of God and Jesus for at one point in time, maybe after the Tower of Babel, some point in time significantly later, where all knowledge of God and Jesus has gone away. They don't even think about the Great Spirit. They don't even think about any of that. It's just we live here and we die. Those people, they come here, they don't hear anything about God or Jesus, then they pass away. What about them? So we believe in there being missionaries, just as there's missionaries here that go 2 by 2 in the LDS faith here, there are missionaries on the other side that go 2 by 2 there. And they're from
the same school marching 2 by 2.
Right. And so in this, from the spiritual paradise, well, the spiritual paradise is really a state of mind, not an actual physical location. It's a state of mind. So those people who actually followed him were faithful in the spiritual paradise, or in our world here. When they passed on, they went to the spiritual paradise, and from the spiritual paradise, they will then go and be missionaries to those who never heard it here. And it is another chance that they have. And we consider it to be like a ticket. They get a ticket to a train. When a train comes, they can choose to take the train or they can tear the ticket up and not go on the train. It's their choice. And that's part of the reason why, right, and that's part of the reason why we do baptisms for the dead. So we do baptisms of real people, living people. Just want to make that clear because I've heard some weird things. We do baptisms of living people in our temples in the name of someone who has passed on. So the baptism is done to a live person in the name of a dead person to give them the chance. That's the ticket.
That's awesome. And before you get off that point, I would just like to just add a quick thing, not to interrupt you, but it's fun. I like what you said about people that didn't know or were not baptized, because one thing I always disagreed with, and I had many talks about this with nuns and my priest, is we were taught, at least I was, in the Catholic Church I was raised up in, if a baby is not, if you die without baptism, or aborted baby, or a child dies without being baptized, you go to a place called limbo. Not purgatory, but limbo. And that means being in the absence of God. Now, I've always had an issue with that, because that baby, why would he be in the absence of God? He didn't do anything wrong.
So I can explain.
Okay.
So the thing about that, so if a child who is before the age of 8, so we understand the idea that when someone receives their intelligence, their understanding of right and wrong, their free will, that comes around the age of 8 years old. So when a child can start understanding things and figuring things out for themselves, and understand their that the actions they make, what those consequences are, because every action you make has a consequence, whether that consequence is good or bad. And so about the age of 8 years old is when you start understanding what those consequences are, and you start being able to make decisions on your own, and then having to being able to reap or have to withstand those consequences. So any child who is from when they're conceived, really, when they're conceived to the point of 8 years old, if they die anywhere in between them, they automatically, our belief is they automatically go back to the Father. They automatically go back to live with God. And
okay. I'm going to interrupt here, though, because I want you to get back to... I want you to get back to God and other planets.
Right. So, and I know where you're going with this, and so I'll continue on. So the plan of happiness. So as it goes, so there's the spiritual paradise and spiritual prison. So there's the missionary work that goes on there, and then what ends up happening is the judgment. So we're waiting for the judgment. Right now, we've got the people coming from the premortal existence. There's still people there who are coming, but there's a predefined pool of people that are being depleted from that. And that's part of the reason why the Mormons have large families, is they're trying to deplete the pool faster. and so to bring on the second coming faster. And
they're trying to speed it up.
we're trying to speed up the process by because once that pool of people gets depleted, the second coming is about to happen, or it does happen right then. So then the second coming happens. So after the second coming, we have really 4 different areas you can go to. So there's heaven, and then there's hell, right? But or really outer darkness. So there's outer darkness, which is defined as hell in the Catholic faith. It's the place where there's the weeping and gnashing of teeth. It's the
gnashing. It's like Dante's Inferno.
Yeah, it's the complete separation from God. It's considered hell by most people. So then you have the starting from the top to the bottom, you have the 3 tiers of heaven, the 3 levels of heaven, and they're described in 2 Corinthians, where who is it who's talking?
Well, there's the heavens where there's heaven where God is, and then there's the heavens, which is the air.
Right. So it's the three separate glories that's defined. One to the power of the sun, one to the power of the moon, and one to the power of the stars, and as many stars as there are.
The number 3 again.
Right. Well, it's right, and so there's a celestial kingdom which is where God resides, and that's his location, his physical location. Then there's the terrestrial kingdom, which is the to the power of the moon. Space. They use that in what's that?
Like space almost.
No, not like space. They're actually talking about like luminescence, like how the sun is bright and how the moon is bright and how the stars are bright.
Gotcha.
That type of thing. So the terrestrial kingdom is like to the power of the moon, that one, and that's where Jesus Christ resides, and that's his area. And then there's the telestial kingdom, and that is to the power of the stars and as many stars as there are. So it's like everyone who doesn't make it into the celestial kingdom or the terrestrial kingdom will be in their own little heaven that will be separate from everyone else, and each one will be like different luminosities, but no one will.
Do you know if that has? Is that where you get the word telestic, like the Knights Templars telestic? It's kind of an offshoot of agnostics, telestics.
I don't know about that, but on to what what she was asking me about. So we have this belief that there's a part in there's a couple different places in the Bible where it talks about when Jesus is saying that that he is the light of the world, and then he also says that we are the light of the world. But then he says that he goes to the Father to gain all that the Father has, and that we can go to the Father and gain all that the Father has. And so what we understand this to mean is that based on these, and there's several there's several passages, I believe. It's not just these 2, but these are the most prominent ones. But what it talks about is that we are basically God's an embryo. What it means is that we were created as beings to go through this as a test, to see how we will act and what we'll be like when we don't actually know that God is actually there watching. Because right now we don't have the faculties to be able to see outside into the spirit realm. We don't have that ability to observe that. We're stuck in this body observing what we see. But when we pass on, we'll be able to see all that, and then we believe also that we have a memory that is white when we come here, but then or locked away, but that when we pass on and when the judgment happens, then we will gain back our memory, and we'll remember all the decisions we made before, and then we'll also remember what we did here. And when
Before
that
what?
happens,
Well,
what's that?
okay, so basically, you, if you do it right, you get to be God on your own planet, right?
Well, so if we do it right, basically what happens is God will make us to become like Him, and we will. The idea was we'll become a God like Him, and then we will. But not everyone's going to make that. Everyone's going to make it like that. Basically, you have to be really humble. You have to be really good, really faithful to be able to do that, because you have to be just like God. When you do your own world, you have to be just like Him, and a lot of people can't handle that. And so, but yeah, but that's basically what it is. It's we're God's an embryo while here, but we can't really do anything on our own. We have to rely on God and Jesus to do anything. But then when we pass on, if we were successful in doing what we were supposed to be doing, if we followed God, if we followed Jesus, if we listened to them, did what we were supposed to do, we listened to the Holy Spirit when the Holy Spirit was talking to us, and we believe the Holy Spirit to be like kind of like the conduit for communication. It's an identity of itself, but it's the conduit for communication, but it's also able to project like feelings. It's a singular entity that exists in one place, one point in space and time, but it's like the sun, where the sun can radiate and affect many things all at once. And so is the Holy Spirit, similar to that, but on a spiritual side.
So what I'm gonna come in here real quick and say that pretty much anyone who follows the teachings of Jesus scripturally and the Holy Bible, they don't actually believe that we can become God. None of us do. No one would really stand on that. And in the Christian, some people don't like to be called Christian, but they're followers of Christ, whatever they want to be called. You're scriptural. You live by the teachings of Jesus Christ. I'm going to use the word Christian, so get over it if you don't like it. But nobody believes that we can become God. Now, what I've come to find out is that everyone who isn't of this belief, almost everybody, we're talking New Age, I'm including Mormons, the Catholic Catechism says it as well, and I can read it to you if you don't believe me. And anything with transhumanism, there's a Mormon Transhumanist Association website. That's to become God. And that seems to go against everything that I know as a Christian, because I never get to do that. And you guys, don't worry, there's not going to be a fight on here, because we already talked about this earlier. We already knew what we were going to talk about. But we're so hated for many reasons. And it's interesting, the more I do research into all these other things, is that becoming God really seems to be the bottom line for everything else, except for followers of the Holy Bible and Jesus Christ. And if you look to the stories and start to learn that, and what's I think you would agree. And what's great is that, and I want to talk to John a little bit more too about the Catholic Church, because he has some things to say about that, but we have time, so don't stress, guys. But what I want to say is, BENZ is asking some really good questions, you guys, that a lot of Christians aren't asking, and that is, what happened in the garden? So will you tell us how you came to start asking the question of what happened in the garden, and what you've decided you think is possibly going on there?
All right, so I started seeing a bunch of stuff happening, like this whole thing with the Illuminati. I'd seen stuff about it. I looked into the whole alien thing. I listened to Corey Good, David Wilcock, David
God.
David was it Dr. Stephen Greer, all of them. Like, I was listening into them. I was buying their stuff, buying their books.
Hey, that's okay. He was asking questions though, guys. He was asking questions.
I was searching. I was searching, I was looking, and I kept searching, and I kept searching, and there's always that thing about the Illuminati. What they do is they always create division, and there's something actually I did notice about Corey Good, is that he plays a part very well. So there's this thing that Satan does, where he tries to sell. He gives you 99 truths, 99 small truths to get you to believe one big lie. And that's something that we believe.
That explains Jay-Z's song.
Yeah, and so like Corey Good gives a whole bunch of little truths. A whole bunch of, I mean, there's tons of them. He's so full of disclosure.
Takes a lot of truth to sell that lie.
Yeah, but it's one big lie. The whole solar system, space, everything. That I've come to understand now that whole thing is a lie. That there's so much proof of a flat Earth. There's so much stuff that belies the globe Earth, that says it's a lie, that shows that it doesn't exist, it's not real. There's so many things, so much.
Whoa! You're telling me there's no blue chickens, dude?
What does that mean?
Sorry, man. Blue chickens.
The blue avians.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, there's no short.
Oh! I thought that was real. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, and I don't think that there's the tall ones either. There's no gray ones.
Okay. I just wanted to clear that. My bad.
There are certainly other things here. Now, going along with his
CERN dimension.
Truths. Yeah. Well, the 99 small truths, all the small truths, he says. There are certainly other beings here. Certainly are.
Yeah.
But they don't necessarily have to come from off planet.
Exactly.
They can just as easily just come from deeper underground.
Yep.
And who's been digging that far?
Mm-hmm.
And have they been telling us anything?
Mm-hmm.
Most of them haven't.
Yep.
So, based on the whole Illuminati thing, like looking into that, I found that there was a big division between Stephen Greer, Dr. Greer, and what's his name, and Corey Good, and David Wilcock, and they had this whole thing where there's some sort of, gosh, I hope that there's no, hope we don't get blowback for this.
I don't care. Here's the thing: is you get to have whatever opinion you want to have, right? Because you don't, you're not taking us into outer space and giving us the facts. You're not going, "Hey, everybody, look, I told you so." You have an opinion. You get to have it here.
Yeah.
We know what you believe, and you're welcome here. So don't worry about it.
Yeah. Disclaimer: this is all my opinion.
Yeah. Don't worry. I've done disclaimers too, so you're good. We're same team.
Yeah. All right. So the whole thing about them is that they had this big argument. So supposedly, I've actually talked to some of the people who were part of Sirius, who were on the movie Sirius, from Dr. Stephen Greer, and they said that they found a second set of books that he was keeping. So he was keeping a second set of books and hiding money. And apparently, what happened, in my opinion, according to some sources that may have stated something about this, when him and his two friends caught cancer and his two friends died, the CIA was the ones who gave them the cancer, and they approached all three of them, and Dr. Greer took the bait, and so he survived. And so that's apparently what happened with that. And then David Adair came out and said that Dr. Greer was full of crap. But then Corey Good brought Dr. Emery Smith, or helped him come out to break out into the mainstream about that he was doing like surgeries on extraterrestrials or stuff like that.
Oh God!
But then he is now, so Corey Good is now suing Emery Smith for something. So
Well, imagine that. They're
Illuminati
suing each other.
creates division. Yeah, they're suing each other. So then they also was it was the, what's his name, David Wilcock. He did something to throw some bad stuff at the whole what's the network they were working at?
Gaia.
Yeah, they did stuff to throw bad
Oh,
stuff.
of course,
at
Gaia. That's great, Gaia.
Yeah. But they
shield zone.
They create division everywhere, though. That's the thing. They create division everywhere. Everywhere they create division. When you do your interview with Zen Garcia, you need to ask him about the Illuminati handbook, like the oath that they take.
Yeah, you told me that. Yes.
Yeah, have him do that. That's because
I pulled it up.
when he read that,
Probably similar to the Jesuit one.
Yeah, I think it is the same one or similar. Well, no, it's not the same one. It's very similar. I believe it is. But the big thing though is that they create division. They're always creating division. And so I saw that, and when I started looking into the whole Q thing, we started realizing this whole thing about creating division. They want to divide you. And then I looked back at the whole thing about Corey Goode and David Wilcock and Stephen Greer, and I noticed that there was all this division being created everywhere. And then this new thing about Emery Smith came up about Corey Goode suing Emery Smith, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, there's so much division here." And so
that's a Q in your icon, isn't it, Ben? That's a Q.
Yeah, it is. I had someone made it for me.
Very nice.
Someone,
I always wanted to ask you that.
So not to try to push your conversation, but we're getting down a little bit in time. I want you to tell me the question that what brought you to Zen Garcia? Like, where were you going with information that you got to a point where you get to where what he talks about and has written 3 books about?
Gosh, so one of my family members mentioned serpent seed to me back when I was I was home last year, and I didn't even think about it. I heard it mentioned somewhere else, and I didn't think about it. And he mentioned it to me, and I said, you know what? I've heard of this. I haven't really looked into it though. But then I think that Corey Goode was saying something about it, but I think he was leading it in a different direction. I think maybe somewhere else. But then when I saw this, when I finally saw a video on it, and I don't remember when it was. It was not too long ago, like a couple months ago, and I was like, whoa! It was Zen Garcia explaining some stuff about the serpent seed and where they come from. It was one of them, but they were explaining it into pretty good detail. And I was like, oh my goodness, mind blown. Why doesn't anyone else know about this or ask about this? How come this isn't coming up more and more and more? And so I started using what little funds I had to start spreading the word. Look in the serpent seed. Look in the serpent seed.
So the great thing about this explains a lot. This explains a lot about even the scripture. It goes to Revelations, and Zen Garcia really, 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 really talks about this. And he includes other books like Enoch and several others, right? I don't even know the extent because he is so intelligent that I told him when I said I'm going to do a interview with you, I said, basically, you need to let me know what questions I should be asking, because we got to start like somewhere at the beginning here, because this is a lot, right? And this is going to be, like you said, people don't know a lot about it. Now, I kind of have talked about it, but that's where I sent you a video, showed you I had a disclaimer at the beginning, because people get mad, they get upset, they think I'm like and plus it was a Boule video, so they either think I hate black people or I only love black people, and they get it super confused. And again, it's kind of divisive, I guess. But what it does is when you start to learn, now you're growing and you're maturing your faith. And it doesn't mean that, we talk about this. There's a lot of good Mormons, a lot of good Masons, a lot of good Catholics. There are people at the top doing evil things. That's not what everybody else is doing, guys. And you have to remember that. And I'll make an exception about some people, but I'm not going to say it tonight because I don't want to change the route of the conversation. There's some people that just refuse to learn about Jesus Christ, and those people are suffering for a long time for it. They're still suffering and they want us to feel sorry for them, but we know who those people are. Anyway, but there are people that keep asking questions, and it grows your faith, it grows your knowledge, and you get answers. God will bring them to you. And he put you there for a reason, just like he put me in the Catholic Church at one point, and just like you're coming where you are. So I'm going to give, I want John to talk a little bit about his experience similarly, but just tell me like what the serpent seed is to you and why it's so interesting to you. And then I'm going to have John talk about how this has affected him in his Catholic side of life. And we can go over, guys. It's not a big deal, but I want to talk about it. So tell me what the serpent seed is and why it just sounded like truth to you.
All right. So the serpent seed, basic explanation is Cain is not Adam's son. Abel was Adam's son. Cain was not. Cain was actually Satan's son, but Eve was still the mother of both. And so this explains like everything that's going on. This explains the Illuminati. This explains all these bad things that are going on in the world. There's a saying we have in our church that says the greatest trick the magician could do is to make everyone believe he doesn't exist. And then he can do anything he wants. Right now, no one believes the serpent seed exists. So they can do whatever they want, and no one believes it's them.
It's a it's a bloodline, isn't it? It's just a pure bloodline starting with Cain.
It is a bloodline. It is a bloodline. There's people who have come forward and said there may be a third strand of DNA, like you were saying. They talk about they're doing all this inbreeding because they value that trait so much that they are willing to forego the negative effects of inbreeding. Yeah, and just keep the line keep it as pure as possible. Keep that strand in there. Keep that whatever power they've got for as long as possible.
Eugenics.
A type of eugenics, but more just a type of breeding, type of inbreeding. So their family tree, like pretty much it weaves. It doesn't branch out. It just weaves within itself around the trunk.
Well, you see that weaving in the symbol for at every pharmacy you go to. I forget what it's called, but the double snakes, the helix.
Yeah,
that's okay. I can't remember either, but I know what you're talking about. But that's been changed. It's not accurate anymore. What it used to be. It used to mean healing, but those two snakes don't mean that anymore for the doctors.
You know what I mean, though.
Yeah, I'll think of it in a minute. Like somebody will know.
I forget the name of it. It's the energy board.
NPC said something, but it doesn't look right. I don't know how to say that. It's not that word.
It's like the sepultura, but that's not
yeah,
it.
That's not it. Okay. Well, anyway, I did a video on this about the bloodlines myself, and anyway, they'll keep it inbred. They don't care about the hemophilia. They don't care about any of that stuff because they gotta have that bloodline ready for the caduceus. Caduceus, thank you, NPC. Caduceus.
Yeah, I just found it.
But they've got to have that bloodline either for the Antichrist or multiple Antichrists, but I also have come to believe that it's got to be corrupted. Now, I don't know if this is true because Satan doesn't know everything. Even Satan doesn't have it all figured out because he's in this, but he's smart. He's not stupid. But Satan wants to corrupt the bloodline, wants to corrupt the DNA, because our DNA actually, which is opposed to what you said about the LDS, it's actually ingrained. I think because we were created by God, it's ingrained in us. Jesus's DNA is in us. And so we have this desire for something like that because the DNA is made in us. And Satan wants to corrupt the DNA so that we are no longer acceptable to God, which is why he did that, which is why the fallen angels did what they did, which is the third strand of programmable DNA that we talk about, or that I've talked about a few times in other videos. But that's what I've come to believe, and so that makes perfect sense to me too. And so it's bringing you really into a lot of scriptural information and knowledge, which is a wonderful thing. And it doesn't mean you're going to leave the Mormon church and the LDS church and say phooey on them. In fact, you might have been put there for a really good reason, for other people who may have questions, or just to love on people who may need help, or may just, who cares? Whatever it is, we got to meet them where they are.
Yeah, that's true. I'd like to also put out, I forgot what I was going to say.
Oh, my bad. I went on and on
No,
and on.
I had it in the notes on.
Make it. You got to keep notes.
And on and on.
So I would like to say that there are a lot of good people in our church. We do not practice polygamy. We did in the 1800s before it was made illegal, and they made it illegal because of us. And then we stopped because it was made illegal. But they did a bunch of illegal stuff. So the people who were already practicing polygamy, when they made it an illegal law or an illegal act, you're not supposed to be able to imprison people who have already committed to it. So people who had multiple wives, they should have been grandfathered in, but they weren't. They threw them in jail anyways. They made the law and then threw them in jail, so they just violated the Constitution and just, they just didn't care. They've done all sorts of things against Mormons, issued extermination orders to kill them on site in Missouri, all sorts of bad stuff. But there's a lot of good LDS members. Yeah, a lot of people don't know about that.
You're right. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, Lincoln was actually made the president because of the Mormons. This one a lot of people don't know. The guy who was on the opposing side, he came to the Mormons and said, "Hey, I want to become the president. Will I be able to have your vote?" And they said, "Yes, you can have our vote. However, if you turn against us, you will lose." And he went to his home state and his home area and started bashing the Mormons, and it was the biggest landslide against the winning candidate in history. The other guy was winning in the polls, and then all of a sudden he just lost because he started bashing the Mormons.
Well, so the reason we talk about this is we're not saying, hey, everybody, you should start loving certain things or go to this thing. That's not all that what this is about. What we're telling you is that we have a lot of people in this movement on the truth side, on the Q side, on the Trump side, and we can't just throw them out because we get some misunderstanding about who they are. We're all human beings that are deserving of God's love. And I believe in the one true God, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit. That doesn't mean I got to go, you know what, BENZ, you're really stupid in your Mormon beliefs, and I'm not talking to you because it's evil and satanic. And, oh, by the way, look at you, REVEL, with your Catholic witchcraft, incense. I'm not talking to you. That's never how it's been. I've always wanted to talk to you guys. But guess what? REVEL comes on the other side, right? Because he's part of and loves a group of people that have been put under the Masonic umbrella and have been bashed as much as Mormons, if not more. But he's going to talk about that. John, you're up. You there?
You still there? Yeah. I guess it falls under the Masonic umbrella. Did you ask me about the Templars?
Yes. So you're part of so I was saying you're part of a group that has been falling under the Masonic, umbrella, where people are kind of bashing it, the same as we're talking about what's happened to BENZ with Mormons. Well, maybe not happened to him personally, I'm not sure, but we're talking about that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so you tell us about your side of things and the Catholic side, not just being Catholic, but the Templars.
Yeah, well, let me clarify. First and foremost, I'm a Christian. I was raised Roman Catholic and trained in Roman Catholicism. Okay, Roman Catholicism. And there is a sect that is well known in the Seven Crusades. And I'm sure everybody's familiar with the Seven Crusades, the time where humanity was going to decide to be Christian or Muslim, or at least many nations. And that was fought by the Knights Templars. The ones the Pope, the Vatican turned on that faithful Friday the 13th, they were the richest men in the world. They were the holders of the wealth, the land, and they became too powerful and were destroyed by the Vatican. Now, people say a lot of things about Masons, and a lot of Masons believe, it's a general consensus, that you can pick your own supreme being. You can pick your own religion, mystery school, anything you want. But the Knights Templar, although under the umbrella of the Masonic Templars, is the only sect that requires you to believe in the Lord Jesus Christ and be a Christian in order to be a member. Just like this whole thing, I know we're getting to the end of it, so
no, you can just go ahead. Just talk about what you want to talk about. I'm not worried about it.
Okay, well, I just want there to be, there's a lot of Masonic bashing going on right now and the baby eating, and I get it. I get it at the highest levels, just like Ben, I heard him say, there probably is some of this evil stuff going on in the LDS, but God's working in the church I go to. The people I know feed the poor, or, I'm not trying to put words in his mouth, but are good people. The same with my Masonic temple. I was from St. Mary's, but a lot of older gentlemen that I played basketball and sports with were members of something called the Knights of Columbus. They were ushers at my church, and they were our elders. They were the men that stood and passed out the baskets. They helped us with coaching. They threw fundraisers and Shriners. You see them at circuses, the guys in the fezzes. They were good Catholic men. And I'm not defending George Bush or whoever a Mason is at the highest levels. I'm sure all that stuff goes on. My point is, we talk about the Tower of Babylon and how we were all scattered and we knew the name of God at one time, and we all get caught up in the specifics of it and who eats meat on Friday or who has more than one wife, when at the end of the day we're all Christians. And that's what you saw in the battle of the 7 Crusades. If you joined this war in the name of Christ, you were forgiven all of your debts. You were forgiven all of your sins, similar to the point Ben was making with Abraham Lincoln and freeing the slaves. They were granted, they were free men. And that was kind of the deal given to people that fought against, I guess you'd call it, they were the Moors, modern day, or the Muslims of old.
Yeah.
Not to say that I have any, not to say, I'm not Muslim bashing either. I'm just saying that this was what those crusades were, and these were the warriors that fought it. And, I think in talking like this with Ben and me, I think we see that there's more that we have in common in this war against the serpent seed, or whatever this thing with QAnon, and how we all find ourselves here, supporting the president and the morals we believe. We're a lot more alike than we are different. That's.
And I agree with that completely,
because
what's so funny is I have friends that are super leftist and been Democrat for a long time, but they're the different kind of, they don't know what the Democrats are like today because they just kind of think it's all still the same. But I have a friend,
unhinged.
Right. And I have a friend and I go out to her house and I'm talking to her parents and we agree on everything. We're talking about healthy foods, how we want, remember when the left, the actual feminists, they want to just be able to breastfeed in public, but now the feminists just want, the feminists probably don't want what's really going on, because you got men being women now and taking over their sports. And this is why I love Paul Romano, because he says, just let it happen, because pretty soon the sleepers are even going to go, wait a minute, this is affecting me now in a way that I don't like. And they're kind of waking up, but they don't realize. And so I told my friend's parents, I said, if she only realized, because she's got TDS for real, but she's a friend of mine for a long time and we've always battled politically, but I love her. And she can't listen or hear about Trump, but that's okay, because I can talk to her parents and her husband, so it's still fun. But anyway, I told her parents, I said, isn't it too bad, though? She doesn't realize how much alike we are. I want to grow my own garden. I want to live out in the country. I want to make my own clothes. I want to do all this natural stuff that she's doing. We're so much alike. And she doesn't see it because she hates Trump. It's like, come on, people, let's cross the aisle, because we're already there. We're on the same side. You just don't see it because you put up this wall of just lies, right? And it's so sad to me. And at the same time, she's letting her kids listen to demonic music, but I won't get into it. But you're right. And so anyway, John, just will you explain, please, do you know how the Templars maybe fell under the Masonic umbrella, or we're not really sure when? What do you know about that?
Could you repeat that? You kind of broke up.
I said, what do you know about the time that the Templars would have fallen under the Masonic umbrella, or why they even fell? Are they all Masons, or do you know?
Honestly, I know that they do consider them. They are a sect of the Masonic order. There's hundreds of different Masonic orders, Aaron. It's like anything else. It's like you could find. I mean. There's so many. It would be a whole show in itself. But no, I technically don't know when. I believe them to be. We were talking about the Templars long before that word Mason ever came up. So we're talking about a secret society here that kind of co-opted everything. And sorry, this is my son. And no, I can't answer that, with any degree of certainty, but I know that they were the first to, stand in the name of the cross in this battle for, planet Earth, or the hearts and souls of man. And when the result is the Vatican today, whether that's good or bad, because we know that the Vatican stole their wealth. They took their, they basically killed them off, but they're still around. We're still here.
All right. Well, somehow we still got done around this 8 o'clock time period. And hey, just to plug myself, because it's my own channel, I have a new video up if you haven't seen it yet, guys, on the Black Mirror. And a few people caught how funny I am, because I titled it "Who's Scrying Now?" in case you didn't catch it. It's very funny. Hey. And if you don't think that's funny, you better watch the video and find out why. Anyway, it's not a funny video, but you guys, I actually do have a sense of humor, and sometimes it comes out, especially if I go live by myself and I really get bored and nobody's on here and I start acting goofy. And I used to even sing live. I used to go on Periscope and like sing and do just the goofiest stuff. But anyway,
you sing?
I do sing. I'm a singer on the worship team at church, but I don't sing, I don't like to be in the limelight, so I don't sing lead. I sing backup. And by the way, okay, so now that I finally have that video done, I had somebody else reach out to me who does Christian music that's not rap, and I'm going to do videos for him, and it's really good music, guys. It's really good. I was very impressed. And he was a worship like lead singer and stuff, plays all sorts of instruments, but anyway, would go around and do worship for small churches and stuff. And good story that he has too, a bit similar to yours, BENZ, interestingly enough, because as you were telling me, I was like, did BENZ already tell me this story? No, this guy had the same growing up as you, but it was a father who picked him out and abused him. Anyway, but it was very interesting. I also have a friend who had the same thing. Her dad picked her out of the family. And now I know your story is a little bit different than that you knew of, but at the time you thought you were the only one being picked on. So very interesting. So I'm going to make that video next. I'm working on one for Destiny Lab. And I got the Black Mirror. Yeah, so that's exactly it. Lonnie Menino says, want to see a Black Mirror, you turn your phone off. So watch that video, Lonnie. You're going to really like it. And with that, you guys, do you have anything else you want to say, BENZ, that you didn't get out that you just really want to say? Anything?
A few things. Is that
Yeah, go for it.
All right, so one of the things was, so we don't practice polygamy anymore. If we find someone who has been practicing polygamy, they become, they are told to, well, they can't really stop it right away, so there would be divorces that would have to happen, but they pretty much get excommunicated immediately because they are not part of our church. So the LDS church consists of the original LDS church. There was the RLDS, which split off at some point when Joseph Smith died. It actually kind of fractured right then and there. There's a bunch of stuff that Joseph Smith wrote, and the RLDS church kept it. His wife kept it. We think that she kind of went a little addled in the head, which they think that she just kind of broke. She because he went through so much stuff while he was alive, and so did she, and so she kind of broke when he finally died through when they killed him. They murdered him, assassination really, at the jail he was at. And so they have a bunch of their documents, and they renamed that church. But then there's the FLDS church, and that is the one down in Colorado City, Arizona. That's the one where the guy went to jail, and that because they were marrying off kids as young as like 9 or so, and they were doing like basically it's pedophilia.
Hold on, John. John, are you like searching something on your phone?
No.
Oh, I hear this like tap tappity tap tap tappy tap pat 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 sound. It's driving me nuts.
Oh, I'm in the chat. Sorry, I didn't know. I apologize.
Okay, just go. All right, go on, BENZ. I apologize. Sorry, I interrupted, but just go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. So that I just wanted to say that the FLDS was is not part of us. But also, so Sarah Westall, you guys know who she is, right?
Who is who?
Uh, do you know Sarah Westall?
No.
I think someone posted it into the.
Why do I think it's
There was
familiar?
a
Did you
video.
send me something about it, or I can't? I don't remember. It's not coming
Someone
to me.
posted Sarah Westall into one of the chats, maybe the general. But she does
Oh,
a
oh,
lot
oh,
of.
oh, oh, oh. Okay, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, so she does a lot of investigative journalism. She
Oh,
does a lot of
yes, I
interviews.
did because they were reporting on the QAnon publisher
Yeah.
getting poisoned, and her husband died from the
Yeah.
poison. Right?
Oh, yeah. Now I know you're talking about.
So,
Yeah.
so Sarah Westall, she did she's been doing a series of interviews with a guy who's been reporting on things going down in like the Vatican and the LDS, like the criminal investigations that are going on. Now, he has stated that there has been apparently some widespread and rampant pedophilia going on, like up in the top of our church. I don't know anything about it. I honestly don't, and I probably would never find out just because of the way the church is structured. I'm
Right.
not in that area. I'm far away from it geographically. I'm
Well, and
also
you're
far
also
away
not a
from it.
serpent seed either, right?
Right, but I'm also not part of it hierarchically. Um, but also, he has stated that it is a demonic church. That I disagree with because
Well, that's a blanket statement. Only cis
yeah,
speak in
yeah,
absolutes, you know.
yeah, yeah. We obviously not Satanists, but he stated that we have a the temple has the statue of Moroni up on the top facing east, which it does, but that inherently, I don't know of it as a satanic symbol. I remember it's been explained to me before, like the reasons for it, what it is, what it means, and I know like who Moroni was, but and the reason why it faces east, I don't remember right now. But Moroni was the person who the angel who delivered the the plates, or showed Joseph Smith where the plates were in the ground, the
Hmm.
gold plates that had the Book of Mormon inscribed on it. He's the one who showed them to Joseph Smith, and so they put him on the top of the temples when they make the temple. He's not the writer of it. He's the son of Mormon who wrote the book or put the book together. Um, Mormon put the book together. His son Moroni, after he passed away, he hid it, and then he passed away, and as an angel resurrected, he showed it to Joseph Smith, and over a period of 4 years to test him to see if he would actually go and grab it and sell it because it was gold plates. So, um, and
Huh.
after 4 years, he allowed him to take it and translate it. So there's a thing called a Urim and Thummim that
Urim and Thummim?
yeah, there's a Urim and Thummim, and the Hebrew faith, they know what this is. So apparently that was brought over from Jerusalem to here in the U.S.
What is it? I'm
Over
lost.
there's a set of stones.
Oh,
It
like
was
a
allowed
Ten
to,
Commandments?
no, it's a set of stones.
It's
No, but I mean similar to that or just stones?
uh-oh. You there,
Sorry.
Benz? Oh.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here. My phone went off. So it's two rocks, two stones,
Oh,
two rocks, just like two stones.
okay,
Um,
okay, okay.
the way it would work is they made a breastplate back then, and they set it into the breastplate, and then they'd used it for translating some other documents they had way back. But then when Joseph Smith went to grab the plates out, there was a breastplate in this box where the plates were, and he said that the breastplate was too big for him. It was made for someone of large stature. Basically, just a very large, a very big man.
Excalibur comes to mind, like the sword of Excalibur. This story, I don't know why, but just
yeah, different from that. But it's like where it was just a large man that was just a bigger guy, not like a giant or anything. Just someone who was fairly broad, fairly big and muscular.
like a breastplate, like a full armor, like
yeah, like a breastplate, like a set of armor. And there was
gotcha.
The Urim and Thummim were mounted in a certain way where you could look, like when you were looking at a word or something like that was in a different language, you would put the word, like kind of angle yourself so the word was between the Urim and Thummim, and below that word would be your word in that language, and like your word in your language for what that word
What?
Yeah, that's like how the translation went. So he did this with his wife and went
Sounds
through
very
all
cryptic.
these plates. Yeah, he went through all these plates, like translating them with his wife. And like one of the stories they relate was that there was a point at which they were translating a part where it's talked about the walls. I think it was the walls of Jericho falling down.
Walls of Jericho, yeah.
Like when they fell down from the trumpet blast, and he didn't know about it. He didn't know about it at this point. And so he he asked his wife, and his wife actually knew. Emma knew, and she said, "Yeah, the walls of Jericho fell down from the trumpet blast." And he that's one of the things they talk about, is that he didn't even know. So he was translating all this stuff and didn't even know what some of it what was going on. Like it was relating stories that we have in the Bible, and he didn't know these stories.
Wow.
He didn't know them because
That's
back then things were
in.
different back then.
Well,
he had like a second grade education and still did all this stuff. Somehow was able to write a book in so many different writing styles. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like they've looked at this book, but
I keep trying to butt in. What I wanted to say was just keep in mind, everybody, because you guys know where I stand, and this is another kind of secret society. Now I throw that out there for a reason, because with Jesus there are no secrets. It is done. And so I'm not saying anyone needs to leave the Mormon church or do anything. In fact, you could be doing great work for the Mormon church for God. I can't judge that unless I look at you and I see that I can judge you by your fruits, right? That we have righteous judgment, and I can say that guy's really looks like he's destroying people. If I can see that you're destroying people, I can say that doesn't look like it's from God. But if you're doing work in that church and for that church, it'd be really wrong for me to tell you to leave it. And all it is knowledge, guys. If you could say, I have, just like this, I can go to a movie, right, from a Hollywood producer, and I can still enjoy it and see all the Illuminati references. But because I know about them, they don't affect me. Because I know about them, they're not putting a spell on me. Now, if it's leaving me feeling negative and icky, I gotta leave, right? But if I can go and enjoy a film or, watch something or listen to certain music, and I'm not feeling negatively affected or put in a bad mood by it, but I understand that they're probably connected in some way. You guys, we still got to enjoy our lives, okay? So work where God's putting you. Now, if you feel moved to leave because of the Lord, then do what God's calling you to do. When he says move, you move. That doesn't mean we're going to agree on everything. And in fact, we're not going to agree on a lot of things. But that also doesn't mean we should. It's so easy to just. I had somebody earlier get mad during my first video. Oh, he was so mad because I wouldn't scroll up and read his comment, and he's like, "I'm out of here," and I'm like, "All right, like, cool." I didn't probably handle as nicely as I could, but it's like, come on, guys, like, let's just do a little bit for each other. Let's walk a little bit further than we want to. Just retype the freaking comment that you like, but whatever it is, like. Even if we get mad at each other, guys, let's forgive and still be friends after that, because that happens. I've had people in this community who get mad and never come back and want to talk to me. And I've had people who come back and apologize. And same for me. I'll always apologize if you'll give me the chance. So let's have grace for each other. Let's love each other. Is there anything you guys didn't say that you really got to say tonight? Otherwise, if you don't, I'm going to close it down. But is there anything you want to say?
No, I think I was great. Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. I think I'm good too.
All right. Well, I'm going to conclude with a prayer, and it's going to be in the prayer of my Christian mindset where I'm at. So, but I always still talk about the Heavenly Father because he certainly is. He certainly is our Father. He's our dad. He takes care of us. He loves us like his own children, as we know our own children. So, Heavenly Father, we love you. Jesus, we love you. We thank you for this community and to bring us together and to be able to have these conversations. It's fun and it helps us grow, because if we don't ask questions, if we don't keep asking questions, we get stagnant and we just can become bitter in that aspect. And then we can be open to demons and Satan, and we don't want that for our lives. We want to live well. We want to love well, and we want to bring others to truth. And I think the ultimate truth is God, the Father, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. However, we got to meet people where they are, and we can't push everything on them all the time. So let us be a good neighbor. Let us love our neighbor. Let us go out there and reach out to people in a humble way, knowing that we have been just as big a jerks as they might be being. And there's some people who we can't help, and we have to know when to turn away from it. So God, give us discernment and wisdom. We pray in your name, Jesus. Amen. There we go, guys. And Black Eagle, you don't get to have my silver unless you get in on some raffles,
Amen.
buddy. So I appreciate you guys being here.
Have a good one, Ben.
Hey, well, I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you for coming on. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we'll either do this all three of us or just two of us again whenever you guys want to, because it's fun for me. I'm fly by the seat of my pants. I don't have to have a topic. And if I do, though, I'll tell you. I'll be like, this is the topic. So whenever you guys want to jump in, it's fun. Anyone there? Okay.
All
well,
right.
All right. Take care.
all right. Well, have a good night, everybody. We love you. God bless. Peace.